So one thing we thought we would do that would be fun before we get into the album review is we took their 11 studio albums and we decided to rank them.
We're going to rank them all.
So let's hit it.
Oh, thank you.
We'll rank them all.
That was
yes.
Come on, yeah.
Thank
all
you.
right, rank them all. So
here we go. So we'll go each of our 11. Number 11 spot. Luke, what do you have? You can lead us off.
Oh, number 11, I have the classic 90s album, Load.
Okay.
Just wasn't as big as a fan of the singles on there, like the bigger singles, and it didn't hit for me as well. So that's where it lands on me, but also wasn't like the worst thing I did.
What's your 11, Mike?
Mine, I'm gonna go with Reload.
Oh, okay. More.
Pretty much, pretty much the same thing that Luke said. It's just in that sort of pocket of Metallica that I don't love, but listening back to it this week in preparation for the reviews and doing all this stuff, I didn't. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
All I'm saying is, Until It Sleeps isn't my like 90s, 90s.
My
Metallica
number 11, my least favorite. I thought it'd be higher on the list, but listening back to it again, is Death Magnetic from 2008, which is crushingly loud, so distorted, so bad sounding. I liked the songs when they came out when I was in college, and I listened to it again, and it's like, good Lord, Rick Rubin, stop fucking compressing everything within an inch of his life, because everything sounds bad on that record. It's just bad. What's your number 10, Luke?
Speaking of Death Magnetic, number 10 is Death Magnetic. I was not a fan of when they were like still doing no guitar solos for some reason and trying to make it like thrashier punk. It was a good step in the right direction, I think, after Saint Anger, but that's it. Death Magnetic, number 10.
Mike?
My number 10 is going to be Load. I kind of paired these two together.
Yes.
But I mean, Until It Sleeps is a cool song. Ain't My Bitch, the opening track, I like that too. King Nothing, Hero of the Day.
It sounds like you like this album.
It's not a bad album. It's not a bad album.
My 10 is Load, which I think is the lesser of the two 90s, Load and Reload. It's fine. I enjoy it more listening back to it now, but it's just fine. Whatever.
Agree. It's the
your number 9, Luke?
My number 9 is Hardwired to Self-Destruct. I went back. I listened to this a little bit. I liked it more on like the up and come. I liked it definitely more than Death Magnetic, but it landed there. It wasn't like a terrible listen. Too long, guys.
And your 9, Mike?
I'm also going to go with Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Interesting.
I listened back to it as well, and like I thought it was cool, but I did get some listeners fatigue by the end of that record, and I was kind of like, okay, all right, it was a step in the right direction, but yeah, that's where it lands for me.
My 9 is Reload, which I think is slightly better than Load because it includes two great songs, Fuel and The Memory Remains. And Luke, what is your number 8?
My number 8 is here's where my list gets super controversial. I'm not just a fan of like the production and the really long songs on this record. Injustice for All is number 8 for me. It's just like a lot. It's very dense and very long.
And your 8, Mike?
My number 8, I'm switching things up here. I'm gonna go with Death Magnetic for number 8. I don't know. I listened back to it and I did remember listening to it when it first came out and being like, oh, this is cool, because it was like, obviously the next album after Saint Anger. But yeah, Jeff, you talking about that whole compression and all that stuff, I was like, you know what? Yeah, that demotes it a little bit. So Death Magnetic is my number 8. Yours?
My number 8, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, which was a comeback. It's the album that came out, I think, 7 or 8 years ago. I think it's back to kind of their traditional form, but it's just fine. It's fine. What's your 7, Luke?
Okay, number 7, I have Reload. For me, like this was like peak childhood, like hit just right. The singles on here were where it was at for me. Fuel and The Memory Remains, big radio hits. Shout out to those NASCAR promos that used Fuel and made me obsessed with the song. Yes. This was also on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s website and his official music. So why it ranks so high with me. And don't hate on me. I know Injustice for All is a critically better album, but Reload is my childhood heart.
All right, and your 7?
My 7, I'm going to hit Saint Anger. It's funny how I found Saint Anger kind of like ranked higher on the list, and I mean seemingly it ranked a little bit higher on the list for all of us a little bit too. Yeah. But I went Saint Anger because you know what, man, like maybe it sounds like Lars is playing a trash can, but I think this is an incredibly important album for this band, and yeah, that's where it is. Saint Anger's number 7.
My number 7 is the new release that we're going to be reviewing today, which is 72 Seasons. I think this is, out of the Metallica stuff that's been released in the last 15 years, the strongest material, the best sound, the best solos and style and substance and all that stuff, and the most mature lyrics, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Your number 6, Luke?
I'm going to back you up on everything you just said. 72 Seasons is hitting like Metallica is on a late day ride up. I'm here for it. This album hit strong with me. So it's going to be like in the mid pack here, 6.
Same with me too. I put 72 Seasons as my number 6 as well for all the same reasons, and we'll get into more of it later.
My number 6 is Saint Anger, because Frantic is a top 10, if not top 5 Metallica song in my opinion. This album gives me happy memories of Some Kind of Monster, which is insanity and funny and crazy and, like Mike said, a turning point in this band's history. And it's a punk crazy album, but go back and listen to it. You'll like it more maybe than you thought. Your number 5, Luke.
Okay, my number 5 is what do I have here? Oh, this has got to be. What do I have here? Some Kind of Monster. I just wrote it weird.
Some kind of
yeah.
Saint Anger.
Oh, Saint Anger. Sorry. That's why I got the titles confused, because Some Kind of Monster in my head, and I'm like, that's not what
to be
it
fair,
says.
there is an album on streaming that
Yes.
is titled Some Kind of
It's
Monster
a
as
bonus
well.
EP type of.
Not what I meant. My writing in my head got mixed up. Yes, Saint Anger for me is
Top 5.
5, because as I went back and I listened to the tracks, I was like, oh shit, I like this
I'll push
record.
it out. I'll push it in.
Yeah.
My lifestyle determines my death style, guys. I don't know.
One of the best Metallica lyrics, man.
I don't know
from
what-
Kirk Hammett.
Tick, 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 tock.
I don't know what to tell you. I listened to
I
it,
don't know what to tell you.
and I was like, this is like, even the fucking drum sound. I was like, oh well, I like. I don't know. I get
It's a
all
wild risk. Yeah, I'm
I
into
get
it.
all the
Yeah,
choices
yeah.
more now
Yeah.
as like somebody that's grown into music. This album reminds me of Complicated Black Flag, like in my head, like that kind of shit. That's like you put it on, you're like, this record sounds harsh. It's like hard to listen to. You're like, who listens to this Black Flag record? Like late in the day, like 85, kind of sick, 86. This reminded me of that kind of stuff where they were like challenging their fans and like open musical kind of thing. And I was into it, man. I don't know. So Saint Anger, number 5.
All right, Mike, what's your number 5?
Number 5 starts with me with Ride the Lightning. I do love early Metallica, but I think that of the first 4 records, this is probably my least favorite. There's some good tracks on this record, but it's going to land on number 5 for me.
My number 5 is Kill 'Em All, their debut. A little too much of the double track, slightly delayed vocals, and it has that debut like thinner, early type of thing, but strong album. Number 5.
Number 5.
Your number 4, Luke?
Luca.
Number 4 is Ride the Lightning. I'm into this record, and it's like early, like monster thrash thing. I think Call of Cthulhu is the end of this record.
Yeah.
Killer track on there. I'm here for it, for Who the Bell Tolls, all that good shit.
Yeah, great tracks on
Number
that.
4, Mike?
Number 4 for me is going to be the Black Album. I love this record. I really do, man. It's people dub it as being the sellout record, but I think that the production sounds great. The band sounds huge. Again, taking a risk, especially riding high on the sort of thrashiness of their previous 4. I like it. Black Album for me, number 4.
My number 4 is Ride the Lightning, For Whom the Bell Tolls, one of my favorite Metallica songs, but production-wise, it's a second album. It doesn't have as much thickness and as much strength as later albums did, but it's still a very solid record. Your number 3, Luke?
I'm going Black Album for number 3. I'm a sucker for like a good, this album is like pop rock in a lot of ways, but it's also super heavy. Like I said earlier, I love the hooks. I love the heaviness of it. I'm here for it. Ballads, here for those 2. Number 3, love this record.
All right. Number 3 for me is going to be And Justice for All. I do hate that you can't really hear any bass on this record, but I did a lot of listening to this record in an old pickup truck, and this was on cassette, and I just remember thinking to myself, good God, this album sounds so good in a cassette deck. It's crazy. It just sounds so good. I could listen to this album over and over and over again and never get sick of it.
Bass frequency on a cassette is always a bit more than on a digital.
Yeah.
So
Check out And Jason for All or And Justice for Jason versions on YouTube. The album's a lot better on those.
Yeah.
My number 3 is the self-titled Black Album, Metallica. I think it's the biggest and best sounding, if you want to say in a general sense, the most like well engineered, and like it sounds like great kind of pop songs with harmonies and stuff. Yeah. It's the monolith for a reason. It's my number 3. Your number 2, Luke.
I am going to go Master of Puppets. I'm going to really go solely on the title track. I feel like the title track really like hits me really strong. It's like Metallica all day long.
Yeah.
And lyrically, I feel like it's one of Metallica's strongest like and first like outward moments of like I'm singing about myself personally. So I think it was a big step forward. Great album, great legacy. It's just for me that's really where it comes together.
Yeah, same for me. I'm gonna go Master of Puppets as my number 2. The song itself, but the album opener too. Battery. I mean, killer. Damage Incorporated. Killer. Orion. Killer. Leopard Messiah. I mean, all of them. That Welcome Home Sanitarium. Amazing.
My number 2 is And Justice for All. I think it's some of their best songwriting. It suffers because there's no bass on it, and it hurts your ears after 15 minutes. But it is some of the best played guitar work on their discography, and I think it's just like their peak angry at the world type of sound.
Yeah.
And number 1, Luke, we have only one remaining. I know it's number 1 for all of us.
Yeah, so I am a giant first album fan from a lot of bands, and this is no different. Kill 'Em All is number 1 for me. Hit the Lights, Whiplash, all that great stuff. It's so thrashy, it's punky, and I ride more on the Misfits train than I do the Metallica train. So for me, this album is definitely more of like the punk rock vibes in Metallica that they kind of shredded off by the second and third records, and I am here for the more thrashy Metallica. I love Kill 'Em All. It is my favorite, and it has a lot of that Deep Purple Motorhead original kind of thing they were going for at first. So Iron Maiden, that kind of good shit. So
yeah, I'm gonna ride with Luke too. Kill 'Em All is my number 1 Metallica record. That has the iconic Anesthesia Pulling Teeth bass solo by Cliff Burton, which was kind of my inspiration to even want to pick up bass in the first place, and sort of my indoctrination into the metal universe. But yeah, the Four Horsemen, Hit the Lights, Motor Breath, Jump in the Fire, Whiplash. I mean, Phantom Lord,
Motor
Seek
Breath,
and Destroy, Metal Militia. I mean, it's full charged thrash at its finest, and I love this record.
My number 1, Master of Puppets, Battery, Master of Puppets. I think the best the band ever played. It's number 1 because it's just a kick-ass metal record, and possibly like my favorite metal album of all time.
I think stylistically, Master of Puppets is like the one choice. I'm just like a little more of like a thrash head, so that's where.
Here.
So I think some of our consensus is I think in general our least favorite albums were the Load, Reload, Death Magnetic.
Yes,
and then we kind of had the like 72 Seasons and Hardwired to Self-Destruct in the middle, along with Saint Anger. Top 4 or 5 were kind of Master of Puppets, Kill 'Em All.
Yeah,
Ride the Lightning.
Ride the Lightning.
I think the big upset in this
Black
list was me putting Reload at number 7.
And where'd you put
Injustice?
Injustice for All was
At number 8
Ugh.
for me, just because that album just does not hit
though.
with me. I put it on and I'm like, I
It
just can't
sounds
get
like
into it. So, what are your guys' Metallica rankings? Do you have Metallica rankings? Have you thought about this? Do you what is your rankings? Do you agree with our rankings? Comment. Let us know if we're wrong. Give us all that your Metallica hate. We'll feed it in and become stronger.
And we all know the real number 1 is S&M.
Yes. Oh yes.